cave or you're forced to do something or
and or even like the expectation of, well, if
Same
this
thing.
is what, yeah, exactly. If I accomplish this, it's the best, I just don't know how to. I'm still working on how to frame it into that. It's the one piece that amplifying it really comes down to the focus. Is it mine or is it it's the expectation?
yeah.
Time, tension, power. Time, tension, focus.
Yeah. Whatever the case, it's all external.
Motivation, pressure, expectations. Right. It's all what we learn rather than from the origin of, oh, this is what I desire, this is what I've enjoyed, this is what I'm learning or experiencing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
That
and it
being the
totally,
goal rather than getting something or going somewhere or achieving
yeah,
something.
it totally drowns out who I am. Doesn't even consider that.
People talk about that all the time. Do your
Yeah.
but make sure it looks like this.
Hmm.
Most I can see it, it's like because it appears like if the energy's flowing from out there to me, it's like it's going to, I'm grasping for it, if you will, or it's like I'm drawing it to me that way, or it's like it's coming from inside out.
Yes.
So it's,
Yeah.
I'm working the difference between those two. They're so similar, right? There's a real hard distinction to pull it apart.
Yeah. Well, and somehow our innate inner authority gets hijacked.
What would you say hijacks it?
Why would I say hijacked?
Or what would you say hijacks it?
Oh, it's a combination of things. It's one of the first things you're confronted with is how your parents are conditioned. I mean, that's probably the first thing that you're exposed to. Is their conditioning and their
Their experience.
yeah, their experience, yeah, and how they've learned to manage their energy or not, you know.
Structured, born into a family of thieves.
Yeah,
You'll be an
yeah,
outcast if you don't steal.
yeah,
The expected structure.
yeah. Yeah.
What I was getting to, I think it's the ego that is always hijacking.
Well, yeah. but it's that ego that develops, and it's
Yeah.
you know, it's the false self, and that's not intentional, but it's just like
That's right.
you create this persona that you design to keep you safe and keep you alive.
Pleasurable as best you know how.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you avoid pain, and try to find whatever pleasure you can in situations.
Through a multitude, every moment, choices.
Yeah.
Without realizing that, two, there's other possibilities, there's other ways to look at this.
Yeah. And you know, I've never read anything anywhere where there's an appreciation for what it's like for an eternal soul to be encapsulated in a finite body with an excess of dark and heavy energy in its environment. Like, what a shock would that be? To come from there, you know, to come from there and be posited here. In this limited, boxed in, you know, it's almost like you're volunteering to be caged up.
Well, yeah, and I think how else would we know something?
Yeah. I know that's why I was pissed off when I got sent back.
Imagine more than likely, right? The first year, the first 18 months, first 2 years, right? Without the development of the ego that way, life was that way, it was limitless.
Yeah.
And then when it became conditioned, right? I think when the ego was able to understand the words.
Yeah.
Then the words started to fill in and make sense. They just became patterns. We associated those to feelings. And that's where that's where the Foxian became.
Yeah.
But I think that's the beauty of it, is that that we have experienced that part of it, right? We just don't remember it. And that's the feeling that we're trying to get back to.
Yeah.
That's why we can't name it. That's why we can't put anything on it, because there was no name to it at the time.
Right. Yeah.
The ego wasn't developed. And you can't take the ego out because you wouldn't live life. I mean, they proved that.
Right. Well, that's part of your ego is part of the physical reality, and there's no getting away from that. Like, I see what's happened is that
it's the third level there.
Yeah, all of society has basically, like, every human being has basically put that ego in a place of superiority. Like it's become the decision maker.
Yeah, the authority. That's what-
Yes,
Highest,
yes.
highest authority.
And it's almost in it's almost in opposition to the outside authorities that tell you what to do.
Because they went through the same conditioning.
Exactly, exactly. And that's where the force things comes in. It's because your parents were forced. So that's all they know. So they force you. And yeah. And you don't want to be forced. I mean, you just don't. Not designed to be forced is more like it.
Survival, this is my experience, and I'm going to teach you the best that I know how. So it's nothing in bad of it, nothing, it's all intentions are good, but it's so limited. There it is. It's expanding.
Yeah.
It's either expanding or contracting. The energy, it's the second, third level, it's either contracting or expanding.
Yeah.
This force fighting our own contractions.
Yeah.
That would mean that that's the Z space. Z gives you that space.
Yeah.
XYZ.
Yep.
Takes away from learning. You're to do. We're able to learning. This is a pressures, but it's as well. It's just what the parents have.
Hey, I just lost you. That last sentence, I hardly heard a word.
So it's going pretty good. You hear me now?
Yeah, that's better. So could you say again?
Lost what it was aiming at was the parents are just it's just around conditioning.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's coming to me that's really key about all this is no individual is at fault. You know, it's nobody's fault.
Process.
It's yeah, it's just a repeating, it's a repeating pattern that, fluctuates a little bit, but I mean the pattern is basically the same over and over and over again. And it's like yeah, it's systemic.
That's the beauty of choice, too, right? It's like if it came in all, or what would, rather than driving, what word would you use?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And
if I,
we may be the first generation who has awareness around this stuff.
where it's like in the as the pendulum swings, right? It's to start saying like, look, that doesn't work anymore. We as societies have to look at something different, but only because you learned that you wanted something different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the only way things move. Because if we all started at the position that we're going for now, right, then we know that we would want to find something different to that.
Right.
Certain metaphors would speak of it as eating from the apple, right? Eating the apple tree, the garden of Eden, tree of knowledge. You can eat every one but that one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
of course, as soon as you tell me that I'm going to go for that one. Tell me what I can do. Unfortunately,
Yeah, I still haven't wrapped my head around that one. Which a funny thing to say about it.
it's like anything, you don't think about a monkey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just don't have to be told what not to do. As we tell everybody what not to do.
Yeah. Someday I'm going to tackle that story with a reframe.
I bet you it is what we're talking about here. Maybe it's the ego coming in, taking away from the inner desire.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a story of limitation, it's a limited perspective.
Yes.
Does it that story? Does it tell us how to get out of that or no?
Well, there's some hints.
Metaphors always do.
Yeah. Yeah. It talks about the relationship between the female and the serpent, and it talks about the female being the key to redemption which is very curious language to me. And of course, the story's been painted out like it was it was a, you know, an act of defiance or an act of disobedience, and that it was a commandment in the first place, which I don't see as being true. You know, I see it being more as like a warning. Don't go there, because there's death there. You know, and death has been a daily experience. For everyone since that time, which is basically what the warning was. In the day that you eat of it, you will surely die. In the day that you eat of it. But it's addictive, right? So it's like keep eating, or keep experiencing that on our way to death, right? But it's a daily death. It's not the end of life event. It's a daily one. So there's a misunderstanding there too. There's different forms of death.
You could say every day is.
Well, and that makes it a manifestation, right? Because when you bring death into form, that's what you're manifesting. So the implication there is that that tree, that knowledge, that binary cannot save you from death. In fact, it's what causes it. It's what causes death. Cause and effect. So the question to ask is, am I dying today or am I living today? What am I feeding on? Or is what I'm feeding on causing me to die or to live? Today.
And these are two different views of one of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it could be a combination of both. You know, you could be feeding on some stuff that's giving you life and also feeding on some stuff that's giving you death.
I can replace those words with expanding and contracting.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Very, very, yeah. Good job. Yeah, yeah,
Curious, wonder, learning, going, like, experiencing positive, like enjoying, like all of those are expanding, and negative would be judging, uh, worrying, anxious, why I can't, although everything else.
yeah, yeah. Well, and yeah, and pain is
Pain,
contraction.
pain and
Pain is
fear.
contraction. And yeah, and fear. They're all contraction. Yeah, they're all oppressive. And pleasure and joy are expansive. And love is expansive. Yeah. Hmm.
So that would be the tension. The sort of step before that would be knowing the charges, anticipating the charges, to feel the charges, to sense the charges.
Yeah.
Allowed a creates the ability to articulate and bring into existence that expanding and contracting.
Yes.
The tension, the second one, so time, energies. That's really it's time and energy, and then the direction of it, expanding or contracting.
Hmm.
I tie that into structure, right? Because time as one point means nothing.
Yeah, true.
But then you can dive into time and say, oh, look, in time, I can build a structure between the present, the past, the present, the future, and the past. All different ways, right? So you look at time. If you zoom into it, it's the beauty of our language. We can zoom in and zoom out.
Yeah.
As soon as we go to compare something, right, there's always then we're attaching an energy to it, which is the
Yeah.
structure.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Comparison is a contraction type of action.
Well, I think that word, I would give you that word is, but it also could be neutral, and it could be positive. I think what we do to it is our automatics is we tie whatever charge to it as whatever we're comparing, because if we comparing, I can be judging.
Yeah. Yeah. We follow the pattern that we have fit that into. And yeah, and my pattern for it might not match your pattern for it.
But we can say at a society level, it is true because it's when we are comparing, we're dissatisfied with the comparison.
Yes.
And our tendency is to judge, I say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Judge is a limiting. it's attracting, it's pulling energy in with what they're judging. Because that is a comparison. Let's see, what's the opposite word of comparison? Likes. Well, no, because it's already assuming.
Yeah, I don't know that there is one. Compare or
They're all just different. They're just all different. There are different charges to it as I move away from it.
yeah, because comparison can be very beneficial, but also it can be devastating as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Depended on the individual's structure, right? And how we are viewing that word.
Yeah, it depends on the context that it's used in.
Context, contrast, and context, contrast. I mean, what like our work and intention here is to notice how do words charge me in that way, like just to notice my default. Because it doesn't mean that it's right.
Yeah, because the charge in the word depends on what you take the word to mean. I'm just looking it up here in my thesaurus here. Yeah, it doesn't have an antonym listed here, but it says see relation. It's comparison is how things relate to each other. Well, that's an interesting tool because we talk about the spectrum.
Grease is another modality. Certainly did that.
So you look at a dark to light spectrum, or you look at it. Okay, let's use temperature for a spectrum. Okay. The word cold means something very different in Oregon than it does in Canada. For a really good example, right? And there's a comparison there, but it's based on on different criteria in either place.
Yep.
So it's very subjective thing.
You know, all based on the experience of an individual that's processed.
Right, right. Well, and you got this pressure in society that's toward uniformity. Right? Society works towards one size fits all, one answer for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that sense comes from the history of belonging.
Yeah.
Safer to belong. Survivals, that's part of this so deep in the background. The innateness. Yes.
Yeah, to me that has to do with separation. Degrees of separation. Because the capital T truth is universal oneness, but a lot of times we don't feel that.
Right.
We feel like we're isolated, somehow individual, somehow alone.
So if I was to, what category, like you would name it, temperature, if we use the example, temperature, and then the category, the separate and oneness, what would you, like those two things have to fit in under what category? Just looking for a neutral one on that.
Yeah, I'm looking for a neutral one too, and that it's not coming, but it's individual on the one end. It's individual on the one end, and it's unity on the other end.
Being, because we're talking about a human, so human being.
Yeah, could be the being spectrum. I heard somebody talk about those first few chapters of Genesis one time, and somebody who had studied Hebrew, and in the Hebrew Bible, there's kind of a thing about, it says that that Adam was in his separation, which is really curious language to me. So like before the tree was ever considered or anything like that, it was like he was already in his separation before that happened. So I don't know how significant that might be, but it's interesting that we've come full circle on this, and we're kind of back. We're kind of back there. the individual unity spectrum. Yeah, for some reason, it's important in the earth environment for souls to experience individuation. There's something about that that's really significant to the cosmos, to experience individuation. Hmm. Do you remember when we were in the early days of doing these sessions, when equal became kind of front and center for us? It was almost like it was a gift when it showed up. We realized how powerful it was, that the whole concept of equality.
Good. Wow. And how do we tell? How do we judge? How do we know we're equal, being equal? Because man, that has so many spectrums, so many degrees.
Yeah.
And then I'd say, as you led these sessions, what was your assessment of equal?
Well, here's what I'm getting from it is it was a step into a higher dimension, because the physical senses can't discern equal.
Good.
So it's like you gotta step into your fifth and sixth dimension senses in order to discern that, in order to feel that. So it's like it's an intuitive and maybe even instinctual thing.
Yeah, because I think that our patterns of society is to not be ever equal, and so as equal goes against what our patterns are.
Yeah, because everything, we've been raised in hierarchies and authority systems, and and all this kind of stuff, as if they are natural human things. But are they?
So just to be right and wrong is not equal.
Well, yeah. But both is.
Exactly. That becomes together or separate. How we orient towards that. And man, so much of it, our ego is not conditioned that way. Our ego is not conditioned to be equal, because of our survival, I believe. And again, I mean, generations can't quite catch up in a massive change over 150 years. And we think about it, even just on the last 100 years around food, production of food is significant.
Yeah.
So much that our evolution cake hasn't gone up to that yet.
Yeah, it's been pretty radical.
And just get more radical.
Yeah.
That's what as this, I think that's the acceleration with the new technology is why we've got to get an understanding of our senses, our charges, our innateness, is to, for whatever reason, stay ahead of this artificial intelligence. Or as we combine them to use our illusion of power as it evolves. As the combination of the two come together is a better way to put it.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. There's so much stuff swimming around in my awareness right now. It's just blowing me away. Oh man. That's funny. But I'm getting used to it.
Judging it, right? Not fighting it, not
The interesting
resisting it.
Yeah, the interesting thing is I'm not judging it. I'm just kind of letting it go because I know there's a whole lot of stuff converging. It's just like, and I just kind of like, okay, just get out of its way and let it happen. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Exactly. It's like
whoa.
rather than being like controlling it. Ooh, there's another good word. Trying to control it, right? Trying to
stop an idea.
Yeah.
So that you can get an understanding of it. Like even that. Like I'm fascinated that I've kind of
write it down was the one that was triggered for me.
right. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And it's like, no, trust that, trust that you got this and it's regurgitating in its own space. Thank you very much. And
capture it.
Yeah. I don't have to capture, just absorb it and let my being process it as it does. I mean, that's yeah. And interesting, that's a structure too. That's a very creative structure. Very loose, a loose creative structure. Mm.
I like that creative structure.
Yeah.
Creative or the other restrictive because everything is a polarity. That's the only way our language works is in polarity.
That's the only way what works?
our language.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why this is nonverbal. Like it's, yeah, this is conceptual without language. All this stuff that's swimming around doesn't have language.
Right? It doesn't have form.
Well, it has form, but it's a different kind of form.
It's a possibility.
Yeah. Yeah, its form is potential.
Potential. It's a good
Yeah.
potential form. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that is potential is a form. Oh man, that's a big one. Oh man. Holy shit, I love doing this. Like, oh man.
They say it also took us a while to be able to be quiet enough that we could be here, that we could sit in this space and explore it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It took quite a bit of practice. You know, in this event that I attended the last couple of days, I ran across there's one guy that he runs a he has a radio show on iHeartRadio, and it's called, I forget what the name was, but it's something to do discover your potential or something like that. And I'm going like, holy shit, how synchronistic is that, eh? Yeah, and there's a few other people that want to explore this space with me too. So I'm really excited about that. Yeah, potential is a form. It's an energy form. Hmm.
It's important.
Preconception. Preconception energy form. I was trying to explain to somebody what somebody yesterday, one of those people that I met there, trying to explain to her what we're doing, how we're interacting with the field. And I said, oh, she was talking about Akashic Records. I said, do you read Akashic Records? And I said, yeah, I probably can. But but we've taken a different approach to the field. And instead of going into the field looking for specific information, we're turning the whole thing around and we're going into the field with the whole idea of
Creating.
openness and receiving what the field wants to give up to us.
Creating, it's like a creating with it rather than
Yeah,
pinpointing it.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, because it's true. The field is like a library if you want to use it that way. But what we've discovered is that the field also has intention. And we want to find out what intention is there for us to execute in the 3D reality. Right? There's a let the field be the matchmaker. Let the field match us up with, yeah, with what's there for us to bring into form. She was kind of blown away when I said that. It's like a whole different twist on things, right?
So it's creating with the field versus problem solving with the field.
Right.
Great responses. Why would you want to limit it to that?
Well, yeah.
You'll get your answer. You always will.
Yeah.
We're working to create creative questions, right? Creative work with it rather than limiting it.
You know, it's funny. When I took when I got into super conscious creator or super conscious intuition, it was the first class I took from Chris, and I think it might have been even the first session. He said you want to go into the field and get specific information, and I'm going like, why would you want to do that? So it's kind of funny. This has been cooking for a long time in me.
I mean, it's a way. Yeah, it's a way for sure. But
Yeah.
there's no other way you can sell it. That's the problem.
Here we go. Yeah.
There's no other way you can sell it. Same thing with that lady. You can give records, right? If that's your business.
Yeah.
That's your business. You have to be able to do it that way.
Yeah.
That's a limitation.
Yes, it is. Yeah, because it's making the field tangible.
That's right.
So you actually have a product you can sell. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I can go in there, I can find your Akashic records, and then you can pay me to tell you what I found.
And that's not equal.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
Now, that doesn't solve money problems,
but however, it is a transitional kind of a thing, right?
I don't know. I don't follow transitional.
Well, transitional, like it's it's a way. It's a way to develop a relationship with the field, develop your own relationship with the field. So that's the thing. That's what I got out of superconscious intuition, is this whole thing about, okay, it's me relating to the field. So, we practice that. And it's also something that we can use, and we can and we can be paid for, if you want to get it that way. But that's what I mean, transitional. It's like transitional is um, is learning and learning your multidimensional self and being paid for it while you're learning it. Because the truth is, the field itself is freely available to anybody that wants it. And it belongs to everyone. So in its purest form, it's free. But in the meantime, until we get there,
only those that can afford it get it.
yeah. And see what's interesting too is there's kind of a business model that around use of the field that has emerged for me. It's kind of like this. What I've come to realize is that I've actually been pulling sparks and and you can even call them seeds, like not seedlings, but actually seeds out of the field, and creating stuff like like when I was actually hired to develop online learning, I didn't realize I was doing this, but I related to the field and developed a whole lot of stuff that was never seen before, that was never brought into form on on planet Earth. Right. And but all of those different things I was kind of working on my own to do them, to bring them into form. And what I'm understanding now from here on out is that I've downloaded thousands of seeds that are different things that the field wants to bring into form. There's thousands of them. But from here on in, they'll only be developed and extracted in groups of 3 or more. So I won't be working on my own anymore. And so it's a matter of matching up those seeds with other people who have the resources to bring them into form, and working in conjunction with them to bring that stuff into reality. And and my role is to, like, I bring the spark, somebody else brings the kindling, and somebody else brings the wood. And basically we start a fire that gets going. And the thing is the spark role is an initiating role, but it's also a guidance role. So the thing is, whatever we create as a 3 group, we will share in. And for me, I just want a percentage of whatever we create. And that's all there is to it. But I want a percentage, and I want continued participation in it. So this is not a contractual relationship. It's a symbiotic one.
Mhm. Sounds very similar to mine.
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of interesting how that has developed over the last few months. I mean, it loosely answers the question about the question of how things come into form and how we continue to participate in them with them and keep it growing, keep it expanding. I mean, after all, online learning has become a half a trillion dollar industry. So the potential has been proven. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of quantum scientific things that are cooking around too. Like I can't I can't predict I can't predict which one's gonna come into form first. You know, all I know is that there's thousands of them, and a lot of it has to do with synchronicity and divine timing.
Yeah. Learning your patience is how I put it.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and allowing higher intelligence to direct everything, and you know, and being an active and willing participant in that. You know, and to me that's the same thing as knowing the heart of God, and being able to read and sense the heart of God. And serving the heart of God. Being an agent, being a portal. Getting to play with potential. for a living. I can't think of a better job description, to be honest.
What have you learned about it?
Well, it's pretty damn
Discovering
open-ended.
potential.
It's pretty damn
Yeah.
open-ended. It's like
So open-ended is comes in as like the space, right? There's that space. It's like contracting or expanding. It's like, so how do you make sense of it? Time, right? We fucking can't tie time to it. It's
Nope.
got to be open and expanding. And then
Yeah.
what's a third one? It's got to, there's always the three criteria.
I just got infinity cubed.
Uh-huh. Oh, there's the three, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
I cubed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's the one like to that's like the tension. So when we start to bring the potential and we start to put form into it, we're feeling the charge to say, oh, is that in the direction? Is that serving? Is that equal? Is that the genius? Is that yes and?
Yeah.
Because it's real easy to go in the wrong direction.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's even more easy to get the timing off.
And why? Because the ego, right, is the conditioning. It is all
Yeah.
we know.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a surrender component. Maybe that's the third one. Surrender to it. Go with the flow. Go with its flow.
Definitely flows. Like there's a tension, the flow, the polarity, the flowing tension helps with the direction. reading that. It's really around the reading that for everyone's self. Because it can be misinterpreted as fighting. Right? Fighting is the right thing. What I'm fighting for is the right thing too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's the pressure. That's the force. That's the habit rather than the truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Adversity is different from resistance.
One and the same. Does flowing have resistance? I think resistance is, again, I think resistance is a word that we tie to a negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
Flowing is just a reverse resistance. I mean, it's still resistance. It's still a tension.
Yeah. There's no straight lines in nature.
Right? You never thought about it, but I can see that.
Yeah. Yeah. So interesting thing is,
But it all depends on where you put the 2 points, right?
well, yeah. Yeah. But so what's interesting though is the majority of our math is based on straight lines. In fact, a circle is like the equation that's used to describe a circle is based on a whole bunch of lines, a whole bunch of straight lines.
There, it's like it's the basics to understand. The line is the simplest understanding.
Right. Well, it's actually, yeah. So it's like, yeah, a whole bunch of
It's
points
a
on a
1
line.
degree. It's a 1 degree. It's a first degree, second degree, third degree.
Right. Exactly. So if anyone ever figures out how to do nonlinear math, it's going to blow the world apart.
Well, we continue to build our learning off of what we based everything in the past off of until there's that moment that we can see it a different way.
Yeah. Well, that's what's so fantastic about what we're doing is that none of it depends on anything that exists already.
Just what already exists. Just being aware of what is already there.
Yeah.
And wondering if we want it any different or not. Because if you want it the same, there's a need to change.
Yeah, that's easy.
Keep doing what you're doing. keep doing what you're doing, expect a different result.
Yeah, yeah. Use the same energy you used before and expect a different result.
Insanity, the definition of insanity.
Yeah, yeah. But when you consider it in the context of energy, it's even more ridiculous.
Right.
Hmm. Back in the swim again.
The breakthrough, right? Gathering, breakthrough, scattering.
Yeah, yeah. All three happening at the same time. That's what's so fascinating about this. It's like,
They're transitions, right? And so much
yeah,
is happening in between them that you can't put a word on it until you can look back and say, oh, there's that.
yeah, yeah. I don't, yeah, right at the moment, I don't want to put a word on it. Like, because it's, yeah. It's too much fun like this. It's what I do best. The end result is always a surprise.
So
It's like Christmas morning.
it's always something. It's just how we attach to it. All right. Well, it's time for me and the kids to go eat breakfast.
Okay. Oh, wow. It is 10 to 7. Okay. Wow. Hey, can you post the YouTube link in Heart Centered?
Sure.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesse. It's been a lot of fun today.
Thank you, Greg. Glad I
Big
could,
love.
glad I could be on. Thanks for
I'm
keeping
glad
it
you
going
could
for
too. You betcha.
me. Yeah, for us. Yeah. Thanks, man.